Hello,
You have to do the total cost.
let's start this special meeting. Are there any additions or changes to the agenda
Let's have a discussion about the shed.
about the shed? Okay, anything else? Okay, so since I haven't been here for the last few meetings, hi.
We're gonna make you president forever now.
I'm gonna ask the rest of you to kind of chime in on what we're doing.
Well, one of the things we decided we needed to do, because at the last meeting, we had such a big agenda scheduled for June. That we decided, and because you need by the end of June.
We
the
need our
document.
board needs by June
Mid-June.
29th to submit the capital plan for the
Right,
next
right.
6 years. And that was the sole purpose of this meeting. I added the shed later, but I think I missed it.
But this was supposed to be just to try to prioritize.
Okay.
Those,
all right.
yeah, go over them again where this, and we'll stick the shed in there too in total cost, just as a placeholder. But that's the whole purpose, because
Okay.
it's due, all the paperwork is due back to the office, town office. Before the end of June, I think it's the 29th or
So
so.
that's our
27th.
5-year plan that we need to have in.
Yeah, it's 5+1, yes, it's a
Okay.
5-year plan, so it's what we're gonna spend in 25, 26, starting July 1.
Mhm.
And through, it gets over 31.
Okay,
And we had that
did,
original list, but the question is always, anything changes,
change?
updates. One of the things, just so you have a whole picture that we talked about related to a capital project would be tying together all of the outside spaces we now have in some way that enhances the flow and the aesthetic of it. We'll have the
in landscaping?
hardscaping, maybe landscaping, but yes,
Okay.
the shed, the word garden, the garden, the road garden.
The gazebo.
Can we
Add-
review what the 5-year items were?
Yeah, we talked. Yes.
To just make sure they're fresh
Yeah,
and on
let's do that.
as we're.
Will you help me, Carolyn?
And Carol.
Okay, basement, that's done.
That's done,
We
so.
have carpet replacements next. That's what we, last time we submitted the carpet replacement as the next project, so that would go July 25, if we wanted to still do that next.
Mhm.
So we don't have to submit that again? Oh, you do, yeah.
do?
Then we need an updated price.
Oh.
on it.
And you've been working on that.
We have.
The next one that we submitted for the fall, we did this in sequential years, right? If this was in fiscal 27, the entryways,
Okay, wait a
pretty
second.
generic, but it says, I wish we need a flipboard with,
Fiscal 26,
Do we
you
have a
mean?
26?
If it's this fall?
say that again. So the carpet replacement would be for 26.
Oh, that's right.
It's 25, but it's 26, it's 25, 26.
Right.
So when we have to do
So
that,
the fall project would also be 26, wouldn't it?
What would be?
Oh.
The shed?
No, the fall, whatever you just
The
said.
entryway?
The entryway.
No, that's 27.
And entryway, you're talking about the roadside
The
foyer?
front
or
steel
the-
side door, railings and stairs need to
Oh,
be
here.
replaced.
Okay, that, the foyer, as some say.
The front
Okay.
street side, yes.
Okay,
So
Okay.
the
Street
fa-
side-
the
street
facing,
side-
the
street side
2000,
entrance.
Both the doors.
it's Route 2 facing. And then in 20,
I'm sorry. At
Oh,
the
no.
street side entrance, yeah, just, it's. Are we, the ramp, are we doing the ramp also?
that has to be.
That would be included.
What has to be?
That would be included. Okay, so it's both,
both
both
sides
sides
then?
then.
Both
I think,
entrances?
yeah, I think that's what
Because
we
that
initially
one, the
planned.
door with the ramp is kind of funky.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
So both doors?
That's not, it's,
Or
yeah,
we
yeah,
can
both
put
doors,
Band-Aid.
my error, both doors, railing, ramp, stairs. And again, I think it'd be something you want to look at a little more closely to make sure that that's really what we need, but it's,
and
it's
whether,
it's 20, see, it's 27, they do the roll over 27, 28, but it's counted as 28 on this sheet.
Okay.
So it makes
And then
sense.
so
we have
I'm gonna
carpet.
2728.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm
The
sorry.
carpet, we have the entryway.
We have the carpet, we have the entryway, so it's carpet next,
Yeah.
Mhm.
then the entryway. I didn't realize I could have made these of this stuff. That's the original one, the basement. The next one is painting,
Mhm.
which was the last one we submitted for,
Interior or exterior?
Interior.
Okay.
Does it make sense?
The exterior was painted about 9 years ago, so that's okay still.
Makes sense to do the interior painting before doing the
Carpeting?
carpeting?
I know, I was wondering.
I don't know that we have time to
We're
get the
talking about
quotes.
5 years away and.
Got it, okay.
Lots of drop clods.
Okay, all right.
And again, it's one of those things you may go, well, it's nice to paint it.
So that's
quickly."
28, 29.
Yes.
Okay.
And then there's another year, then we have 29, 30, because this is always a rolling 5 years, really 6 years, but a rolling 5 years. So there's something for 29, 30 that we don't have yet in place that we
So
should.
that's
think-
year 4, that's the 4th, actually. So we have carpet, entryway, painting.
Carpet, entryway, painting. We need a,
Was the basement part of the 5-year?
That was 25,
it was 25.
which has happened.
Which is done.
And we've
I know
asked,
that, but is that,
what are the
oh,
5 years?
so that was the last 5
We,
years?
we
Yeah.
did
So
it.
that doesn't count in this cycle.
So we
No.
only have 3 out of,
So are you
Right.
saying the landscaping or tying it together might be the fourth thing?
It's something that we talked
yeah,
about last time.
I think we
Okay.
should do
Yeah.
How's
a
the
landscaping.
How's our exterior paint?
Said
It
3
was
years.
done less than 10 years ago.
So-
And that's fine.
Good.
And the roof is okay.
Mhm.
Thank you, guys.
What else is there?
So if we did 29 and 30, landscaping, hardscaping, that kind of thing.
And we always have the option to move things around, just because
Right.
we submitted them in this order last time.
Mhm.
You may want us to move it around, it doesn't matter.
I think it's,
Are you considering, when you're saying the scaping, whatever kind of scaping, like walkways from one to the
Walkways,
next?
maybe an outdoor patio that you could put summer outdoor chairs or
Okay.
or little cafe tables or umbrellas on. I still think that at some point we may want to create an outdoor space,
Yep.
either on the lawn or out, closer to where that handicap, sort of out between
Yep.
the parking area by the bulkhead there.
Yep.
Like a real
Yeah.
walkway too, right, so you're
Or-
not walking in the mud or in the,
Yeah,
in the grass, not
or
in the mud.
creating walkways to the gazebo.
Gravel paths.
Whatever.
Right.
the parking lot will be getting paved somewhat soon.
That was. gonna be
Like
my
there
next
was,
question.
Tracy met with somebody, I know. But, so that will take care of some of the muddy areas,
Yeah.
but
But we would probably need a landscape design person to help
Yeah,
simply.
tying it together,
Yeah.
keeping the historical look, but
Yes.
also
Mhm.
upgrading it.
And
Mhm.
providing some really comfortable places or nice places for people to want to read outside. or
Exactly.
Just sit.
I really love to
Meditate,
create some
kind of.
outdoor spaces.
Yeah, me too, yeah.
Can we get people in enough time for this?
Well, that would be 29, 30, so.
We
we
could
got-
but we
just
have to
put a
present-
placeholder in.
Oh, you can?
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
And the, Kenny spoke about the
Sign.
the sign, and that is not at all connected to the,
mm-mm.
okay.
Yeah, I don't think we wouldn't meet the threshold of 10,000, I
Okay,
don't
right.
think. Yeah. But, and I would just say that we probably should add the shed in, just like we did with the,
Yep.
yeah.
Okay.
So
For
put
this-
that in maybe after the carpet.
Oh, no, just put it in.
No, I already
You
have,
can do more than one in a year.
Oh,
Oh,
I was gonna ask.
yeah.
Our Replacement.
Okay.
And shed this year.
So let's do carpet
26.
replacement
Yeah.
and shed.
and I already have the appendix D filled out for the
Freaking
shed,
awesome.
so that's,
So this is one other question that the other question we should probably ask is, do we still have everything in the right order? Because he did a great job
Mm.
last year, but it was the first year for everybody. It was really.
Hesitant to put the entryway so much before the landscaping, hardscaping. Because I wonder whether how we improve that ramp might be affected by what we're
we
doing
want.
around it. And so I'm almost tempted to consider moving the landscaping and the ramp together
And
up
then
a fiscal year.
that makes sense.
Because I think it should be all inclusive. I don't wanna mess around with our entryways and then have to tear them up.
That's a
or
really good
work
idea.
with
It could
something.
look more seamless that way.
Yeah,
And then do the doors,
I
all the
agree.
doors in the entrance.
yeah.
I know that we're not going to be, putting in a whole new bathroom because we didn't get
Yes.
the grant.
Mhm.
But is there anything in our bathroom that would fall under this? I know the
Make-
flooring. is-
we would have to make it bigger. which
No, I know
would-
we're not gonna do that, but I
Yeah.
just mean flooring, plumbing.
I don't think that we
any-
can touch any of it, I don't know, like,
I would like to consider putting a floor over the staircase going down to the basement.
Mm.
If we're gonna seal off that space, I wonder if we could put a floor over it.
So how would
that
we get
Let's,
down
wait,
there?
let's answer this,
Well,
let's answer
Well, you
this
can
one.
get down through the bulkhead.
You don't
no,
want to do
but
that.
we could have like a kind of trapdoor situation.
Yeah,
Oh, gosh, guys.
Well,
Let me, And I think it's really cool. Let's get to this solution. Let me go back to your question though first. I don't think if you don't change if all you're doing is cosmetically improving the bathroom, you're not changing the square footage or anything else. I don't think you have to bring it to code. Cause you could paint it, put
Right.
tile in
Mm.
instead of the carpet or whatever we have, making this up now, but, or change
Is
the
it the flooring?
appliances.
I don't remember the flooring.
It's just linoleum.
Yeah,
So new linoleum or something.
but I
else.
don't, we wouldn't even get
It's-
close to 10 grand
it's
for
so
that.
bad.
It's
Okay.
functional.
Yeah,
Now back to the thing, I just want to clear that one up, back to the flooring over there.
Mhm.
I wasn't sure, I guess I'm not sure how much access and frequent access we need
Mhm.
into the basement. And if we need to really fix that bulkhead anyway, I guess the
Mhm.
question is, I was thinking if we could put a floor over that stairwell, that would be another place for a private computer carrel, for example.
Mhm.
You know, it would give us just a little bit more,
Yeah,
another space for a private computer carrel. But obviously, if you need to keep going up and down in there.
but you could cover
could do-
more of the space. You could still use some of that
You could still
space.
use the space up against the wall.
Or however, yeah,
With a computer curl and a chair, and then just have a little trap door that's, 3 feet
Yeah.
wide that you could.
That's not gonna be a $10,000 project, is it?
No.
Well,
it's
maybe
not.
it is if we're replacing the metal doors that are so heavy, that access,
Are you
You
talking
mean
the
the bulkhead?
the
bulkhead?
bulkhead. Yeah,
You-
if we're
you-
doing
you have-
that and we're,
Replace, why would we need to replace that?
I don't know that we need to. I just don't know what condition the bulkhead's in and whether that is considered an adequate entrance into the basement, or whether we would need to
Right.
use something down that stairwell.
Yeah, what is
That's what I
gonna,
was-
that's
that's
gonna
what
be
I was
a lot of
asking about.
storage down there,
yeah.
and like safety, trying to get in and out.
it's
If
heavy and it's metal, and if there was
And the-
ever a fire, you can't touch it.
No, that's right.
Yep,
In the
I
winter
mean,
time, you're
that's-
not gonna get to it. I mean, it's
Yeah.
gonna be rough. I think I think that's almost a non-starter, guys.
It's an egress, I mean, it.
Yeah, it is.
They're gonna.
Yeah. And
Well, that's what I'm
Think about
wondering,
the
if they
fire.
consider that an
You
egress.
can't touch it. Yeah.
I think if people are going down there, I know they're not staying there.
but
permanently,
still, if you're
For
going
the
down.
reasons you just said, if there was a fire or it got snowed in and.
I think I would say we may really need to think about that one because even the trap door is
Yeah.
another whole issue.
That's a
of-
liability.
It's a reliability.
We do have the furnace down there though,
Mhm.
Yeah.
so we have to have access.
Yeah.
In water, there's
Yeah.
turning water on and off. There's all kinds of reasons that we have
Functional
to go in.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was something I brought up at the last meeting,
You
was
did.
suggesting covering the stairs and then
Right,
having a smaller access area to
Right.
get down.
right.
But I just don't know how much you gain at the end of the day. You'd still, my guess is you have to have a trap door that meets code for that for sure. So it can't be,
I don't know what that would be, it's like 4
at least
feet.
30, yeah, at least I'd say at least probably 30, I was gonna say 38 inches, but that's not 4 feet.
No, but if it's 30 inches wide, it might have to be 4 feet
Yeah,
deep,
I
and I
think it
don't
needs to be-
know how deep that
You're- you
space
don't think
is
we
if you
gain
have room.
I don't either. True.
Oh, I was just looking for another place to put a
Yeah.
computer carrel, because honestly, there's that double carrel. And the one that's facing the door is not very private
Not at all, Fred.
I mean,
Carolyn, weren't you guys
Well-
talking about moving your office? Is this?
Oh, yeah, we had thought about, like
Like,
Courtney had
maybe-
kind of suggested moving the offices into the foyer. But then we'd have like, if we
Bathroom
move the
traffic
bathroom
constantly.
door
you got that.
to another
Yeah.
side, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, like after we talked about it, it seemed
Yeah.
like that kind of didn't make so much sense.
So are
but-
we looking
Well-
for a 30-31 project? Is that what's sort of happening?
Well, 29, 30, and 31, but we don't have to have a project every year
No,
either.
you don't.
So I think that's important to think of
I mean,
too.
if we don't have to have one every year, I think the ones we've got are good ones. Like I said, I just think I would put the carpet first, and then I would move our landscaping and entryway.
What
to
if
the
something comes up
following year.
though, after we submit this, like?
Well,
year from-
we can add.
You-
And
yeah,
then,
you-
like
you-
what we're doing with the
You
shed.
go through the
Yeah.
process, yeah. you just-
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so
I thought
it's
it was
just
following
submitting
Okay.
the
Yeah,
form,
so.
like going to the select
And-
board, like,
Okay.
yeah.
Dang,
Okay.
just dink it. We can just do the
Yeah.
carpet in the shed now.
And then
And
the
then
following year,
amazing.
the hard
The
scape.
landscaping entryway, the year after that, the interior painting.
Where are the doors?
That's.
We'll do
The doors.
landscape entry.
Oh, everything,
coming in.
everything at once,
Yeah.
okay, okay.
Landscape.
It's like double
entryway,
projects.
railing, ramp.
Not double project, yeah.
But we're keeping, but the hardscape is gonna be separate from the landscape.
No, I would think that would be all together, that we would
Project
get,
it's designed.
It's gonna be a huge project.
yeah, but
Okay.
You might want to break it up because well, here's what I was thinking. I thought you're gonna do the hardscape and the ramp because it's all outside. And then the
Oh, the
doors.
doors are
themselves.
separate
so here's,
from ground.
here's a suggestion. Not this year, but next fiscal year, we at least engage a design. We come up with a design that includes the doors, the landscaping, the hardscaping, and then we can break it up.
Phase
into
one,
phase
phase two.
one.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Good
That's-
idea.
yeah, right.
Then you've got
Just so we have the whole.
Then we've got the overview,
You've
but
got
at
it
least,
tied together.
I just don't wanna do anything with the doors or the ramps or anything until I know how it's gonna
Yep.
fit in.
That
So,
makes sense. I was just struggling with the whole big piece. 'cause
Yeah.
yeah, we don't have to
pretty
do
big.
it all in one year, but I think we ought to at least
Have a
commit
design
to
of
the
it.
No way
place
it's going.
to know what we're doing.
Great. You okay with that, Caroline?
Yeah,
So what do we call that person? The design, what?
Landscape design.
Landscape.
Landscape.
design.
Landscape design.
Landscape design. Hard landscape design. Harold.
They'll do it. They're hard.
So is that enough now to give to them? Okay.
Oh, I think so.
And the.
I mean, yeah, I could call it landscape and exterior design, because that way it sort of includes the doors and the
Domestic design.
ramps and the.
So
So
there-
the-
there's a place to put the detail. Sure.
The walkways, outdoor patio are now under hardscape.
Yeah, they're under that whole design plan, and like
Okay,
that
so
said,
we
that
don't
might
have,
be
so we
phase
don't have a
two.
2930 anymore, right?
no,
Yes,
and
I
we
do.
never did.
Okay.
Yeah, we did. Oh, no, we
did When
don't.
there were gonna be walkways.
Yeah.
outdoor
Let me,
patios.
let me,
Yeah.
it was the mine again. I
Eliminated
haven't lost my
You're right.
mind.
Okay,
So are we ready to continue talking about the shed?
Wait, can we just list out the
Write
projects we
down
all
those,
together them again?
So
The first one,
is Carpet and shed.
Carpet and shed.
Second one is landscaping design.
I thought it was hard.
Well,
It's all one
landscaping,
thing.
hard
Landscape,
landscaping,
design.
Outdoor and
It's
entry.
really more-
entry, blah, blah, design.
Okay, entry, can't spell. Entry doors.
Third one is either painting and or phase one of the
Right.
design. Right, in other words, we may just do the design next year. And we may either start phase one next year or put off phase one of the actual execution of the landscaping until the following year.
Wait, the design has to be brought.
What if we
to the-
say we get landscape designer to look at all of this, and we're considering doing this 27, 28, and 28, 29? Because I bet this is.
Yeah.
Senior project.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's good.
And then the painting.
And the painting could be 29, 30.
We can move, we can adjust this next year, we can move it.
Yeah.
But I think having the whole thing approved, the landscaping and the exterior transition to the door work is all good to do at the same time, but there may be two projects.
Yeah, but they
But
could
the design
approve
is
it
one.
all, couldn't they? Or do we need to go back once we actually execute the phases?
Well,
Like if we outline if we identify what the phases, if we identify the whole project.
just like this one, so think about the basement.
Yeah.
Was approved as a project, it was voted by the town, but when we got the actual three bids, we still had to go back to the select board.
Okay,
Because this is not the capital committee anymore, this is just the planning piece we're doing.
gotcha.
Everything goes to the select board.
Mhm.
Okay,
So, and I would I suspect there'll be two different contractors. There'll be the landscape
Yep.
contractors, right? Is that right? And
the
then,
design contractor and then the actual people doing the work,
and then there'd be someone different for the doors, I would suspect.
possibly.
Yes, because there's landscape people do that.
They
work.
just,
They might, when I did it in Shelburne, we had the same, they were happy to do it.
Yeah, they might. I mean, I don't know, but you're right. We have to go back to the select. board
Anyway, no
with each
matter
phase
what,
anyway.
yeah.
so one thing after you're looking at the invasives today, the sooner the better to start getting rid of some of those invasives, which should be part of the landscape design. So we're not touching it this year, but we'll be able to touch it. 2
As
years
part
from
of
now.
that.
Does getting
That
rid of the
design.
invasive, is that a $10,000 project? Is that something we actually even need to put on our
Holy
plan?
smokes,
No, it's not $10,000, but it's,
it's not capital,
But
but
it
it's
can't-
capital.
well, but it can be part of landscape.
But do you want to wait? I guess my question is, how long do you want to wait before you get those out, or do we
Those
want to
little
just start
invasive-
digging
how long
those
do they-
babies out? Yeah,
It may be if it's in the path of where we're going with the hardscaping, but if it
May
isn't.
actually get rid of some of it,
Okay, good.
I guess. I guess it's possible. That's something that the landscaper should look at.
Yes, but if
Yeah.
it's not, you can't really include it in
Hopefully
the
you'll be there
project.
to talk.
We should
to-
still need to take care of it, however, at some point.
Yeah.
Okay,
it made its
anyway,
way
But I'm happy to
expense,
come
yeah.
with a shovel
Yeah, I,
dig up a butt.
Dollars for these projects as well?
Yes. They're ballparks right now, except for
Oh.
what you really want to do before you submit it, like you're working on the carpeting right
Mhm.
now, and we have the shed one tied down almost. At least have a pretty good
Mm-hmm.
placeholder. And then.
The
and then-
landscaping is tricky. I have a couple of people I would consider going to, and one of them is probably the most expensive of all, which might not be a bad thing, because if we put that in as our,
Bids.
as our, not a real bid yet, but I don't know if it's
10,000
better.
gets eaten up pretty quickly for landscape.
No, I know.
Yeah,
I understand. I'm just saying, it's hard to put a price right now for this June report on what that would cost to do a landscaping design, but I would guess it would be $10,000 for that, and then another 10 or $15 to thousand to execute, depending on what's included.
And so you may not want to, you may want to include all, right, just all as one number. You have to think about that.
so we have to have
I
an
think I would
estimate.
get on the high side.
That's why
Yeah.
I'm saying, we might wanna say it's a $30,000 or $40,000.
Yeah, and inside that is, these things you can't do anything with a plan.
I'm just thinking of a walkway. I had a walkway done in a stone garden. And it cost me something like $5,000 and
Oh,
that
yeah,
was.
my flagstone did that. yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm
You have to be
saying,
careful. It could be gravel
Right.
with the, bricks, something on the side that looks natural. We'll figure it out.
the design can be expensive, and that can actually be, a big chunk of the, 30 to 40% of the whole thing, depending on what they determine are the best materials to use. and-
Here's a, I don't know if this is helpful, but if we have the dollars for the shed, and if we have enough in our, maybe with a little help from our friends, friends of the library, they may consider, maybe we could run, whoever does this, run this next project by them as they're interested in saving some of the dollars and supporting, some hardscaping, outdoor scaping.
Yeah, if they've got
They
$10,000.
like to have goals.
Well, if they've got $10,000, maybe we ought to take 3 or 3,500 from our money and finish the shed. And use their $10,000 to hire a landscape designer.
yeah, let's find out what
Let's
they
find
have
out
and
what
what they
they
wanna
have.
use it for.
Yeah,
Cause
Yeah, it's really not. We just need to. put-
but I think we
Yeah.
might wanna put that out there to them, that our next project would include this big landscaping project, and, would they wanna save their money for
And,
that?
and this is from, at least from me, I have no idea who the Friends of the Library really
I know,
is.
didn't we just, that's another,
Okay.
oh, that's a different,
well,
we're
they,
gonna talk about
I mean,
it.
they're lovely. I buy
Yeah, they're-
lunch from them every year. And I know most of the.
and a lot of them are gardeners, so they might like that idea of
Mhm,
doing the landscaping.
That's what I'm saying, so maybe we
It'll
just
be
use
nice to
ours,
put a
our
sign that
money.
says,
Thank you.
Friends
If we have the
Thank you
money,
to
we have
Friends of the
3,000 or
Library.
for the
Yeah.
shed.
Yeah, we need to do something on the shed
I thought we were gonna,
for Beth,
but yeah,
For what?
for the kids.
Yes, Kenny
Well,
could
the
do a
camp-
sign.
The
potentially
camp
for the
fund,
shed.
or the.
That was
camp
a-
fund-
we
fund?
haven't decided.
The
That was
camp
kind of an
fund
off
or
or
something?
Bev and Bud.
Yeah,
You're gonna name it something.
yeah, maybe.
Oh, she would like that inside done. Beth, no, oh yeah, you wouldn't wanna be seeing the outlet covers and so,
That's a good point.
oh yeah,
Oh,
her name's gonna be on it.
And whatever we put on the floor, I forget, we have, it has to be cleaned.
Well, if you get
Indoor too.
a modeled pattern,
You can't touch
indoor,
it.
outdoor
It's easy.
carpet.
It's easy.
That's pretty easy to do.
So if my whole house just covered the whole.
Can you do those, like the tile
Opposed.
pieces we're gonna do in the library? Can you
Yeah,
do like
and-
so you take a piece.
Possibly,
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Are you?
I mean, it's an easy, as Brian was saying, it's 12 by 20
Right.
right now, which is exactly the size of a roll.
That's why I
window
was saying
carpet.
too, we could maybe get a remnant,
So you just
Oh, yeah.
roll that baby right out there and
kind of.
glue it down.
Oh,
and you're
yeah, and
done.
then-
Yeah.
So are we talking about the shed now?
I was about to make a shed as the
Okay,
next thing.
so what do we need to decide other than picking a time when we can listen to Brian?
So I need to get Brian to come down and do more specific measurements, because when he looked at it yesterday, he said, you really don't need to do all of this. because he was concerned about the airflow and tightening it up too much, that it would,
He said sheetrock out
Limit.
there being kind of in the conditions, sheetrock will crack, so we'll
he
have
said
to look at
sheetrock isn't a good idea.
different materials that may or not be more expensive.
Is there a window in it?
One of
There is a window.
One of the materials he suggested was the same material that's on the outside of the shed, as a kind of, but I have no idea.
But it's-
that.
It looks kind of like.
$50 a piece.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
looks like vinyl siding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the sheetrock, if you're not gonna heat it.
Yeah, I get
Yeah,
that, but
sheetrock's
that gets,
not-
You could do, I know this is ridiculous, but in my addition, cedar's expensive, but pine isn't. And if you even wanna do, if you wanna do insulation, then do pine or even pieces of it, you could, I mean, I think there are options.
I mean, you could even put material there. You could put some kind of a cloth covering over it. You've got bookshelves covering almost
Cloth covering
all
over
of the
what?
wall.
They're
Well,
pretty, they would make it.
The stuff, I mean, if you,
Well,
if
it's
you,
just, you don't see it.
yeah, I don't think material.
You know what, let me, so in terms of the people
could do
that come to
pine
the book
bullets.
sale, do we get much traffic when it used to be at the library? Did we get much traffic in the winter?
Probably.
I mean,
You don't
less,
get much
but
traffic in the
yeah.
library in the winter.
But people still came,
With the regular.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that you anticipate that the shed would be used year round?
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay,
I think we have to keep it open year round.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Definitely.
I mean,
And
just in
I-
terms
I
of
really
thinking
do
about the
think we need
lighting
to
and the
cover the-
heating and
find a way to
Yeah.
cover the-
So the lighting, he had talked about putting either two, and again, this is something Tracy would price out. Two long LED lights, or, Tracy would know whether it's less expensive to buy like a long 12-foot or a, whatever foot LED light, buy two of those to go down it, or to get 4-foot lengths and do a 4-foot one between these trusses and a 4-foot between those trusses and a 4-foot, and then do, so you'd have 6 4-foot
Mhm.
that go down like that. And that's a Tracy question. He said that really is.
What about outdoor lighting? Do we need out?
Then we talked about putting a motion light,
Yeah,
a
yeah.
2 bulb,
Like at
something
the
coming
peak.
down like that at the peak. So that as you walked towards the book return bin, it would activate the motion light, so it would light that whole ramp. Because right now, that outdoor light's pretty meager. Anyway, the
Mhm.
one that's on the actual library building. So if you put a peak in the peak,
That would
and
be
put
good.
one
Yeah,
of those
yeah.
2.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
Well, and going back to the insulation point, I mean, I think that a majority of people, like in the winter time, we're worried about people being cold, are gonna be coming in from their car bundled up. And then
Exactly.
going into a building that will at least be protected from the wind. So, I mean, and also it's a much smaller space in the basement, so people won't be down there for
Yeah.
an hour like they were in the
Right,
basement.
there isn't gonna be as much, it's gonna be
Yeah.
more compact, so they
Yeah.
can look around and bring stuff into the library and check and see if they, I mean, go
I mean,
back.
really, aside from the aesthetics. I mean, as you said.
Which
Bev,
will be
I mean,
covered by mismatched bookshelves anyway.
Which is gonna be covered by
That's
mismatched
true.
bookshelves. I really kind of wish we could just hold off for a year and see how
I
it
think
works.
so too, I think so too, and I.
I'm gonna disagree, but that's okay. You have a
Okay.
majority, you have a majority, it's okay.
We
No,
can
no, no,
get
it's
some
okay. It's
Consensus
okay.
on
I'm
this.
just,
Hold
I
on.
just,
but I think the best thing would be
I just.
for you to be able to answer,
You need
to
to know,
ask your
yeah.
questions.
Yeah.
And that's why I think Brian coming to a meeting and making sure that the questions that everybody has are answered.
well, I think what we need is a number to for the cost of the shed too, in addition to what you just said, which is very good, but a number that what this is gonna be. Cause I have an image of, and I know I have a wood shed that, has kayaks in it, not beautiful books and things that we love, but it is a shed. And it's rough hewn on the inside walls. I mean, it's nicely, but that's what it looks like. I know there's gonna be bookshelves up there, but I don't know.
Well, we'll
I
have,
just think it's an opportunity for us to present something to the community that we've thought through well.
That's
And
not-
then we're not gonna go
Yeah,
back
no,
and say,
yeah.
well, we'll do something else, that's all. And
Yeah.
I don't have to convince me, because I'm probably not gonna.
so we have to get Tracy to do, I mean, if Brian comes and measures it, we just have to figure out what material we can use in there, because we can't use sheetrock.
No, I'm thinking you could go to, you could do woods, you could, I'm saying pine, right, but that's.
If it was if it was like tongue and groove pine, we could paint it white though.
Yeah.
I'm thinking it's gonna be, I want it to be bright in there.
Yes,
in
that's a
the-
good point.
Instead of dark wood or dark,
Yeah.
whatever.
And it's,
No, but it's
You can
that
paint.
versus that.
Well, this isn't,
That's.
It's all light wood in there now and particle board,
Yeah.
so it's pretty light right now.
Right, as long as we don't go dark.
no, and you can paint. I mean, you're right,
Yeah.
you could paint it before you put it in there, and
So-
that, I guess that's something that Brian would have to try to.
yeah, I
price
just
out.
don't,
And Tracy.
My
would
main
have to
concern
price
along
out.
the same lines is I want the books to be in good condition.
Hmm.
So if Brian has a concern that doing the installation might get the books all kind of yucky, and I mean, we're not gonna sell any books.
right?
That
No,
look,
that's a good point too.
yeah, so if that's really.
What's our main function?
Our main function
tool?
is
Get a call him right now, put him on speakerphone.
Yeah.
That'd be better than a special.
Is that okay?
Let me see if there's a.
We lost, yeah.
I
I wanna-
also worry about the time limit, because if we need to wait for installers and painters, is it gonna open in October instead of
It's okay.
a month from now?
It's
But,
okay though. I mean, I understand that, but we can't do it. We,
We have to do it right.
yeah,
whatever the rate is, I don't, I'm not. that's-
I just want the books to be in
want
good
it-
shape.
yeah,
That's-
we wanna do it
that's my main
well.
Question.
That's all.
I know I have a shed.
Yep.
And I had to take a lot of stuff out of my spare room, so I have a very small house, put things in the shed. And sheds tend to make books smell mildewy,
Yeah.
so I don't know what the answer
What about
is.
a small dehumidifier?
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I don't have any insulation in my shed.
Probably should.
That's my
It
only.
comes up from the
Small,
bottom
probably
too.
should.
Yeah.
I mean, oh, what's on the bottom of
I
the
check.
shed? There's probably a barrier, right? Or not?
It's up on risers, right?
Mhm. Right, but that's-
But I don't know what's under.
that's like
it's
wood.
particle board.
Do you want
I
him
don't know
to
what's
come
under.
here?
Right now,
Right this
I
minute,
don't know. He could-
Do you want him to come here?
it's easy for him to be,
but can we write, I think we should consider dehumidifier. Does that?
I think it's easier to just talk to him.
I'm
We
gonna-
have one in the
I'll write
basement.
that
Yeah,
down
it's
as one of the
something
I
ideas.
think,
All
yeah,
right,
flooring
here
is
we go.
gonna be.
Okay, he's
Right.
coming to us.
No, he's,
That's what I mean by
On
phone.
the phone.
Does he know he is?
Put on the spot.
yeah, he knows.
She wouldn't do that to him. She's happy wife.
Hey.
Hi.
Hi,
Brian?
so you're here, we're
Yes.
here with our library board, and there's a bunch of questions. We're going back and forth about whether or not we should be insulating this place. And, there's some conversation about whether it's better or worse for the books, whether we want to make this look as finished and present, present a really beautiful project to the town versus living with it for a year and seeing what we come up with. And we're trying to figure out if we were gonna put a wall, put a real ceiling and real walls in, what the material would be, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what we need you to talk about,
Please.
please.
And Brian, this is Angie. May I ask one more question if you could answer, and that is, maybe somebody knows, what is the material on the floor currently?
It's particle board or whatever that is,
And it's on risers, so there's nothing, there's no insulation.
or dry.
Drylock subfloor.
Okay.
Can you guys hear him?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
we can hear.
All right,
And
What's,
that-
what's best for the books, Brian?
Frankly, I think you're better off leaving air circulation because you're not gonna be climate controlled in there.
So it's
And,
better off for the books if we don't insulate.
That's what I think, yeah.
we're worried it would be musty in there. You're thinking it wouldn't be musty?
Well, it's less likely to be musty if you keep it open. There's a ridge fan on the roof and there's an operable window and screen. So there's your air exchange right there. If, if you were gonna heat this or make it climate controlled now or in the future, then of course you would insulate the ceiling and the walls and cover them with probably something like what the exterior of the shed is now, which is a particle board type of textural 111 siding. And that could be certainly done, but it could also be done easily later on.
Brian, could we for the walls use a different, because we talked about a little about the cost of that potentially being expensive. Is it possible to do a tongue and groove pine or something like that, that we could paint a light color and keep the place, as bright as possible?
Absolutely. That would cost more though.
Would it really than the other shoe? Yeah.
Oh, yes,
Wouldn't for me.
considerably.
Brian, if we
Prob-
did something like that, that would, even if the books were off of the wall, because as we talked yesterday, the books aren't as deep as a bookshelf, as a bookcase. But that would really still compromise the airflow.
No, I'm not saying the airflow is critical here. But I think it's a benefit to the books. The question is what's it worth to you to make it look finished? If you're gonna put anything on the walls, yeah, go ahead and put the insulation in, because that's the time to do it. Same with the ceiling, but just remember, if you do that, the only ventilation you'll have will be that one window.
You don't want that open like in the winter.
But we're not gonna open the window anyway, so we're still gonna have
Well, if we open it in the summertime
there's
to
not a
let some
big
air
airflow.
in.
Right, but there's not a big airflow opportunity in the winter, regardless of what we do in it.
Or you could leave it open a crack in the winter. We leave our shed window open. a
Yeah, but all the
crack every
books, if there's
Well,
ones.
as it warms during the day in the winter, the ridge vent will still allow an exchange of air.
Okay.
Because the ridge vent would always be open this way and would always be letting the hot air out the top.
But if we insulate the space, then we have to put in a drop ceiling and that negates any advantage of a ridge vent, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So it sounds
oh.
like not insulating it is better for the books.
So let me ask a question, because we're assuming that we need a ceiling as well as I started this with the theory of only, when I walk in, I want it to look like another room of the library as best we can and not a shed. And that's why I was thinking about, the walls and the insulation, but is it possible? I mean, so
So.
does it make sense to not do the roof?
What about not a drop? I think you have to do something on the ceiling, but
Ceiling, in any event, you have 2x4s in the ceiling, which doesn't allow a great deal of room for insulation. But again, you're not going to try to heat this. No, you would just cover the bottom of the trusses, so that, it's raised in the middle. If you notice that the bottom of the rafters goes up on an angle and that hits a level center part
okay,
of the ceiling.
so it's not a drop ceiling. We're just putting
No, it would be
wood going up the slanted going up the
Yeah,
slant,
it would be like that.
following the roof.
Okay, it looked like.
The upper
Good job. Good job.
walls to accept stuff on the sides.
If you put pine or that, whatever that texture 111 stuff is,
Section 11.
do you
Yeah.
have to put actual like pink insulation behind it? Or can you just leave that as a air gap between where the pine is and the actual outside of the shed or this actual side of the shed?
You can just leave it empty, those days empty. Which would be fine since you're not heating it. But if in the future you ever decided to temperature control that building,
Yeah.
then
Tear it out.
that wouldn't work. You'd have to take all of that out
Right.
to put the insulation in.
So Brian, if we decide not to, this is Betsy, we decide not to do any insulation, what is there any additional measure that you think we need for the shed that will keep the books from curling, keep them dry, keep them looking good through the seasons?
You can maybe paint what you have there. You just get a paint sprayer and spray the insides. That would give you a surface that you could clean in the future or whatever. And you could paint it with a mildewicide paint.
What about running a little dehumidifier in there all the
I
time?
think we should have it in.
I don't know about all the time, but a dehumidifier would probably be a pretty good idea. During the most humid parts of the year.
So
So-
cleaning the walls is a
Do
kind of a
you-
big deal.
If you were gonna,
Leave it
I
there.
mean, would you be able and willing in the next couple of weeks, because this would have to be done before the end of June, to come back, because I don't think yesterday you took full measurements, because we kind of talked about not doing it after all. If we were to try to come up with a price, because we have to do this for this planning committee, this capital planning committee, come up with something by the end of June. To price out what it would cost to either do pine board or that texture 111, is that something you would have time to be able to do in the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, I could do it right now.
Well, you did-
Okay.
okay.
12. Murphy.
Look at this guy.
A couple thousand. The walls would just be a couple $1,000s for the texture 111.
Okay, and then going up to the ceiling, you would have to put the texture 111 in between the raft, in between the.
No, just nail to the bottom of the rafters.
I
Oh, so it would be a
confused, I'm still confused. It sounds like when you say nail it to the bottom of the trusses of the rafters that we're getting a drop ceiling. I was thinking the panels would
That's
run.
not drop ceiling. Drop ceiling is the ceiling that's suspended from rafters and is free floating on its own.
All right, well, okay, so bad terminology, but I guess what I'm wondering is, instead of having a lower ceiling that's attached to the rafters, couldn't you just put the material going up the slant of the roof in between
Yes,
the?
that's exactly
he's
what
doing.
I was.
Oh, that's what
That's
you're.
exactly what I
okay.
said.
Okay, sorry,
Yeah,
misunderstood.
you just nail stuff right to the bottom of what you got there.
Good, okay, so it's a couple thousand.
Yeah, it would cost another, 1,500 for the ceiling to do that.
So 35 to 4,
And then electricity,
35 to 4, say.
And carpet.
Yeah.
And then
electricity and lighting.
carpet, and then, and that's Tracy to figure out. So
Yeah.
figure on the outside 4, just to be safe.
Maybe 5 by the time you add a dehumidifier
Carpet
and anything
and the
else.
carpet.
bottom.
We have to figure out, so Brian, if we did the insulation, does that price you just gave us include the rolls of pink insulation as well as the texture 111 or whatever?
Insulation.
No,
No, this
Okay.
would not be insulating it.
So if we were gonna put the insulation behind that, because as you said, if we ever decided in the future we wanted to heat it, we wouldn't wanna have to tear all the walls.
that's about $20 worth of insulation.
Okay, so 5,000, let's just say as,
Which is what I had said in the first place.
You did, yeah.
When we first
yeah,
visited this a couple months ago, it cost $5,000 to basically finish the inside.
but that doesn't include the electric. That's just,
No, it does not include the electric.
okay, so $5,000 for the finishing the inside, and then whatever Tracy comes up with for the actual lights and the wiring and plugs and all of that.
Brian, why do you want the carpet? Isn't that gonna add moisture to the shed?
But it is also treated the mildew side and, it's so that it won't absorb moisture. It's indoor, outdoor.
Okay.
And the paint we
So-
use would be mildew paint, mildew.
We won't have to. if
We
use
would
the
have to
L10,
paint it if
11.
we're using that.
Seven
setting.
C 11 stuff.
The texture 111 comes primed, but it isn't a
Oh.
finished coat.
Okay.
Oh,
So,
got it.
there would be some additional cost and labor in painting that.
We could do that.
But to summarize, your suggestion is indoor, outdoor carpet, don't insulate. And just don't do anything to the inside except add some lighting.
That's my suggestion, because if you did ever in the future want to add the stuff, nothing prevents it from happening.
Right.
It wouldn't cost you any more or be any more difficult than except for the moving of the books and shelves in the interim while you were working on it.
We've moved a lot of books.
But why not do it now? If we want it to be pretty inside.
Why do we care about that?
Well, because if Bev Camp cares about it.
I was flippant when I said.
No, I think he's gonna,
I would recommend you
it looks nice.
have a look at it. It's the exterior, it's the same stuff you have us
It
siding
looked
on the
nice to
shed.
me. I'm looking at this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we have
Okay.
any more questions for poor Brian who got pulled out of whatever he's
awesome.
doing?
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Jen.
Appreciate it.
All right.
It's bye.
Yeah, I just, so just to your comment, I understand that, but I think sometimes we I just want to think the whole thing through and at the end of the day, have a product that looks like not only all the things we're doing over the years being connected, not something here and something there and something over there, but that everything looks
Finished.
finished and like it was thoughtful. But
I like it.
is it worth, is it worth, that's just my
And
opinion.
I totally get what you're talking
Yeah,
about. I
it's-
don't want the town to say it's a half-assed job.
We review
But
what
have we
we
looked at,
decided.
has everybody looked at the inside of the shed?
I
Do
haven't
you
been in-
feel
I'm
Like
gonna-
it's a half.
I haven't even gone in there.
I don't know
Because
what
I've
it's
looked
gonna
at-
look like with the
Is it,
stuff.
it's there now? Can we get in there now? Like if I
I
can?
think it would be better to get some matching bookshelves.
See,
Me
that's
too.
my feeling.
I was just
is
gonna
that
say, I
let's
think we
just
can get-
get, let's spend some money getting nice
You
bookshelves.
don't
But
have to.
we've asked that question and so we have, right? And I think-
Instead of the mishmash of
No,
what
I-
you've got in the
Mhm.
basement.
Yeah, we've asked that question. I know I've asked it myself a couple of times, which is a little bit my frustration, so forgive me. Because we do it at home. We make do with stuff and
I know.
and it's okay. Because we're not extravagant in anything that we do whatsoever. But this is a time, I think, whether you want to spend it on bookshelves aren't outrageously expensive. But we're doing that. That's a good idea regardless,
so,
I
yeah.
think. Regardless what else we do, I think having something that looks nice and new is good.
Bookshelf.
Yes.
And I
But
really.
I don't think it's an exception. I don't think it's.
Yeah, they could.
Well, I wouldn't build
I
into
wouldn't.
it in case, because
Oh,
I'd make them
mhm.
movable in
Because
case
that's-
something changes. But I know you guys really cringe when I say this, but I've done this before on unfinished walls of putting in material.
Seriously.
Seriously.
What kind of
and it
material?
Actually looks really nice. Like you can do some
Burlap?
kind of a light, like a light kind of a tweed or something,
Oh,
and you
okay,
just
cool.
put it, you just.
Like tapestries or
staple-
something.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you just kind of staple it to the wall and you've got the nice bookcases behind it. And nobody really notices what
bookcases
it
behind?
is.
In front
Well,
of
no,
it,
I
in
mean, in
front,
front of
okay.
it. So
I
it's
like
behind
that.
Your
bookcases.
eye doesn't go to
Your
that.
eye doesn't really look at
What
it,
is the
but what your
difference?
eye doesn't see is open
Okay,
studs.
so let's do that.
When you were
He-
saying
like
material, I
a-
was
wait,
thinking of a
wait, wait.
hanging material, but if it's stapled to
No,
it,
I
I was
think
like,
that-
should be
I
looking
think
like
that's a
that.
very, I think it's a very good idea. I think it's always beautiful.
and it can be something
But,
nice and light.
But I'm still gonna say, we have to clean it. It's gonna be outside, so it's not like it's gonna in my den, which it sounds like a lovely thing. I mean, that's just what I worry
It'll be
about.
outside.
How do we clean it? It'll be out, we'll be in the
Inside.
elements. It'll be it's
Well, if it's hanging material,
bed.
we hang it in a way that it's easily removable.
Or you could
that
have to
we
even
can
put it
clean
on curtain rods. You
Right.
don't even have to.
I
stick
like
it.
that.
Sometimes you could take it. yeah.
You
You
could
could take them
put it-
down and
that would
wander
work
them,
Tight on a
I was trying to think about how you change it out.
And
how do
take
you
it out.
wash
and
it.
wash
like
it.
curtains, actually.
You could make a curtain, and it sounds really funky. I know it sounds
No, I
funky,
like
but
it.
trust
I
me,
love it.
I've done it before and it doesn't,
Nice.
if you're putting so much stuff in front of it, especially nice bookcases that
It won't
match,
matter.
people aren't gonna even really see.
No, they
it.
aren't.
I
They're
think that would be
not
really
gonna-
hip. I like it.
I think you guys should think about, I need to think about this, so I'm not gonna say you need to, but I need to think about. When I walk in the shed, I'm gonna see, I think, I've always thought we needed nice new bookshelves. We're still gonna have the outlets, we're still gonna have the stuff hanging from the ceiling. I just need to think about overall what that's gonna look like, just for me, I'm sorry.
You know what I'm gonna do when I go
But
home? I'm gonna do
look
some
at the
pictures
shed,
of-
look at the shed as it is now, look at the interior. I don't think it looks bad. I think it looks pretty good, but maybe that's just me, you
No.
know?
I thought it looked
So if you
kind of
haven't,
okay
if
in
you
there.
haven't looked at it yet.
I think it looks okay too, but I was sensitive to what you just said about Bev Camp, and I know maybe you were being facetious, but on the other hand, maybe
Well,
you kind of weren't.
But see, like,
It's
You
not the
know?
only, yeah,
I
there are
mean-
lots of people that,
Right.
we just want, we have, this is the first. Big project in some ways.
they make like outdoor curtains, like we, at home, we have this curtain so that when the pollen hits, and you can get
Catches
some nice, so you, and it's
Yeah,
easy
I'm gonna
to
s-
clean.
I also think this isn't a time to totally penny pinch. We've got money from the Friends. We've got money coming. I mean, we should do what we need to do.
But I think also what we want to, like Betsy was saying, the books, like the insulation, we're concerned about the,
I want the
Conditioned
books to look
books.
good. I
And
want
d-
the bookcases to look
I
good
want
and
the
I want the
nice-
books.
I
to
think
look
that's the
good, 'cause that's
priority,
what
the
people can
bookcases and
go
the
in And they
books.
should look at.
They aren't expecting it to be like a finished room. They wanna go out there and look at the books.
Yeah.
we
That are
want,
nice
we
and
want to
dry
lure them
and,
in and.
you know.
Buy books.
It's not even gonna be heated, so it's not gonna be a pretend.
Right, and people are gonna be
extra room.
excited that it's back on,
Right.
it's back.
Yeah,
on
we
the
want to
front
protect
site.
it because we don't want also people like to be turned off, like if it smell, like people have issues with allergies of being in there and like, they don't, you know.
But didn't Brian say that what was
Well,
best for
Everybody
the
has issues
bucks?
with smells.
But
Is to
some
maintain the
circulation.
The
circulation.
idea of the.
But is to not to finish it up.
No, you have the window.
Right,
And you have the air vent that will still
Right.
be open at the top.
yeah,
Right.
So that's not an issue. I didn't hear
Okay.
that as an issue either way.
okay.
So that part's okay. It's just the level, and he thought that the idea of having a dehumidifier
I
was good, because
think
you're still gonna be
definitely.
moisture, and I mean, it's still a shed out in the.
Yeah, no matter what.
I think
what
some
we can
kind
do
of
to
a
minimize
heavy,
it.
light linen or burlap or something like that. If you could either put it on a curtain rod, but weight it down so that
Yeah.
it's not stapled, but it's not a wrinkly curtain like that. It's.
Do we have to make this
tough.
final
It-
decision?
it's
But I was
sort
gonna,
of-
I was gonna
Yeah.
research.
Why doesn't everybody look at
Right.
that in the meantime?
I'm gonna go.
I don't like the idea of material because it's something else that will absorb moisture and needs to be cleaned and
Look, if-
so on. And I think that we should decide whether the shed looks okay, the way that it is or doesn't. And then vote whenever the vote
Yeah.
should take place.
Okay, and we can paint what's there. We can just get a spray
You
paint
can
and
put a mildew white paint on
Yeah.
everything,
Yeah.
and actually that makes it a nice barn.
That
boardy
stuff,
kind of a
I know.
I've used that at home, like.
That's
with
a
our
nice
ceiling,
barn
it
board
looks
look.
nice.
Yeah,
Is
I
that
like
something
that.
that Brian would, that we could pay him to do?
To spray paint it with the mildew.
I mean, just because it would
Ask him.
look, probably look better if he did it than if
I
anyone
have
else
to
did
ask
it.
him.
there's somebody here.
Contractor to make the
We
paint.
might be able to get one of the town guys to do that.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yep.
Contractors. pay
Okay,
to paint.
so
Right,
we're
but
all
can-
gonna take, go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, it's fine.
Are we gonna try to price out nice bookcases? Are we what are we gonna do about that?
And do those have to be built?
We,
That's the
first of all, how
thing.
many bookcases do we need? I don't know, I have to go in there.
Bookcases from IKEA or.
Anywhere,
something.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
not gonna be capital.
It's
Unless
not-
you're
We can
handmade out
find
of cherry or something.
A Facebook market, not like people, there's some.
Well, you're
I'm
gonna need a
get-
lot of
we need
bookshelves.
some bookshelves. I mean, we want them
Right.
to match.
How many?
Person who did our built-in.
Well, it's
bookcase.
12 by 20
12
squares.
foot wall, you've
I
got
got
two
that
12-foot walls, plus you've got.
They're
You
gorgeous.
have to attach them to the wall or they could fall.
Right.
into
Right.
it. Yeah.
Okay, so.
Would the bookcases be part of the shed, since the shed is capital, if you
Yeah.
roll it into that, I mean, that's sort of the goal, isn't it,
It's
to
the
try
shed.
to, because we don't really have.
Mm-hmm.
We have monies available to us, but it has to be used for.
You know, what's
capital,
interesting,
so-
so when we think about it on the healthcare side.
Yeah.
You have categories of, building materials, your building equipment, FF&E. And equipment.
Okay, what if you had something like that?
We could try.
Okay,
Samantha?
sorry, what if you had
I
something?
think it'd be easy to get to the capital amount. What are we at right now? 60?
What if you had something?
700, 600? Let's see, he takes the tax
Losing
away.
my picture.
He's gonna take lots of.
What if you had something like that?
That Wayfair?
No, I don't know who it
I
is.
still think you want
You know,
to.
I just did wall mounted bookcases so that they have the hardware to mount it to the
Mhm.
wall. Something like that or that. I mean,
7,100 is where we're at.
Okay.
Yeah,
Get
for
some
the-
nice.
That's for the
bookcases.
shed?
but if you paint it white and it's a nice
don't-
barn board behind it, and then you did a nice open
Without-
bookcase
Yeah,
like
so
that,
That was the
I
cost.
think that'd be nice.
Oh, okay.
and
so-
that can be mounted on the wall. I mean, it doesn't have to be that one, but I'm just saying that
I think
that's,
those are adjustable too.
and they're adjustable.
The other thing is.
Those metal?
Few bases. And we have to see what the dimensions are and whether they're
Yeah, that's, yeah.
book size.
I mean,
We can all have a
that's
look.
just one of,
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know, a zillion.
Is
No, I
that
looked at-
metal?
I looked at one when I was considering the. wood
It's
building.
metal with wood shelving.
Okay.
But it can be mounted to the wall. And these are these are, I mean, we don't have to buy these. I'm just saying,
An
this is,
idea.
this is just to give you an idea.
Mm.
I don't have this.
So.
You just wanted to be
the
30.
Meeting next Thursday night,
The
two
following.
Thursday nights
Yeah,
from now.
Yeah.
Everybody will have gone on the field trip,
To see the
taken a
shed.
look at.
I'm
things,
going right after this
Shed, I
meeting.
think.
Going
I
to
think
even
see the
see,
inside. Yeah,
like,
I could
imagine
see.
it painted white, barn white, the barn board
And-
white. With bookshelves and indoor, outdoor mold-free carpeting. And see if that's okay.
So I'm not here for that meeting, but I
Okay,
already like the idea of indoor, outdoor carpeting, barn board white mildew paint. and some kind of a wall-mounted bookcases.
Okay,
Yeah. I like
Would you
that.
still
And
put
I'm not, also not here for that. meeting,
okay.
the
We're gonna
last
have a-
one.
And then I would also
Holy
get
smokes,
some kind of low.
I'm gonna be remote.
Bench in the
bookcase.
center.
Well, I wouldn't do it even as
We need
benches.
to-
I would get something low that can also hold books, maybe underneath, or, I don't know, stools.
We were talking about,
A
the
table.
center one, instead of having something underneath
Have them on
there,
top.
have them on the top, because there isn't a lot of room to like bend down. to
Right,
get those.
that far
There are
down.
Other books right behind you.
So
And
just
the
put them on
walls aren't-
top.
Yeah,
I think there's gonna be enough room.
So you're not here?
I am.
Oh, you're here. Who's not? here?
June,
Just you and I.
I'm in Bennington.
But we're
I
not
can-
here.
I can dial in. Or I get that.
So we don't know if Linda can make it. Can you make it? Can you make it?
I can.
Okay.
we're talking about June fifth, right?
Right,
Yeah.
I have to be in Bennington
Wait, June
the next morning early, so I have to be there.
Is that next week?
That's
June-
in the fall.
Doing next week.
June
Yeah.
5th. Yeah, June 5th.
I'm still in.
So if Linda can't make it, we'll need to move it, and I will need agenda items fairly soon, because I'm
Okay.
leaving in Brooklyn.
Okay, so everybody should,
I mean, I could do it Wednesday night if we had to move it to the 4th.
we don't know if they've got stuff here though.
Oh, that stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
May I ask a question? Do we have enough information for you to be able to put together the documents for submission? Because we need to approve this.
At the next meeting.
Yes.
For the shed. Or for the-
And it's just because it's early because the requirements of the select board take us and the planning commission, there's no wiggle room. It's not that we want to have this in this state. We just have to.
Well, so if she's not gonna do a $5,000 thing, as Brian had priced out or guesstimated out the book.
I think you put it
Texture
in there anyway.
111. Well, we need to at least figure out what the paint and the carpet and the bookshelves are gonna cost.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, we can.
And a dehumidifier.
And
Right.
the-
we have,
We have,
well, we have the one that you donated that never was used at the library. So
So
we
let's
have,
make
the-
sure it works, because I never used it at home.
oh,
There was one that came with the house.
So we can always.
okay.
Always go.
You know,
Check
it's got
it.
a big-
Oh,
a
big-
So do we
really
have to have
big
like a formal
humidifier that costs
estimate on all this, just like we
Hey,
researched the
that's
budget?
something we can put on front porch for, us. if anybody wants to donate a dehumidifier.
Yeah.
Well, we need to,
No, but-
for this, get it.
Do we have to have an accurate estimate of what this paint is gonna
I
cost,
can
what
make
the
some
carpet's gonna cost?
No, we have.
Or should we
We
just say?
have to have a
we
good,
get
a pretty
Any
good
of the-
estimate, which I think we have.
$5,000,
I would do it the 15,000-16,000 total,
Humidifier.
because we're gonna have to go back anyway
right?
when we get the final.
Because we
cost
still
to
don't
the
know what
select-
Tracy's gonna cost.
Yes,
So I would
it's-
say if you say it's $5,000 to finish the
Yeah, I would,
shed.
I would just put a $15,000 number in there. Are you okay with
Yeah,
that?
I would agree.
Well, that gives us plenty of wiggle room, because
Does it
it's
include the
71,
shed?
yes, including the shed,
yeah, because,
because the shed's 71, right? And then the rest is,
Is it 71?
yeah,
that's what you said, a
Then
71.
that's minus the.
yeah, because don't forget, in that 10,000 grant, we were also putting in like $700 for gravel to go under the shed, which
Which
isn't.
didn't
so-
Donate.
Wait,
so-
but you may have paid for some of the bookshelves there.
So we may, so if you say 15,000 and we only paid 7,000 and some change for the shed.
Yep.
We've already got
well, we got-
2,800
yeah.
or 700 extra.
How many square feet is the shed?
It's 12 by 20.
I mean, this-
Okay.
you can't.
Are we good?
Yeah.
20.
Let's so everyone's gonna go look and everything, but just the rest of us double check your calendar, and make sure we have quorum for the next meeting.
So for
Is
your.
Well,
your
yeah,
doc-
I'll ask Linda. I'll send something to Linda.
Okay, good.
For your documents, you have a pretty good price on the carpet, or you will
Right.
have.
Yeah,
The shed, we have a price on 15,000.
yep,
And everything else is pretty much placeholders. You want to put a
Right.
bigger number in the heart landscaping. I wouldn't even call it, people go landscaping design, they'll probably lose their minds, but landscaping with the understanding that it includes a design process,
Well,
right?
what number did we come up with?
We didn't really.
We have to come
I
in.
mean, I would guess it's gonna be like $40,000. I don't know if that's
Well,
a
yeah, I think
scary
that's
number.
right. No, I think that's
For all
right.
the work and
Can
everything.
we
Yeah,
just put
I
that
think that's
number
right.
there? Do we
Sure
have-
you can.
You can?
Because
We
can-
just have to then be able to say
Probably
this is
would know
your-
better than I would,
how much
but I'm
money we
guessing
have, how far out can we
That
pay for
might
this
be low.
stuff, right?
That might be low.
And when it gets to the
Especially
painting,
now
where,
with
you know, where the,
kind
the,
of That shed.
because no, we'll have some of the money, I'm talking out loud, I'm sorry. The money that we put aside for the doors and that all can roll into that,
Mhm.
how much that was.
So,
I mean,
oh,
if we were having a nice walkway with, like.
We put 10,000
slate
for
and
Christmas, we
rocks
put,
around and various.
I can build
We
terms
can
out.
always, pare down, but Planting some
Let's think
self-
big right now.
We put 10,000 for the entryways and that's way low, so we didn't know what we were doing. So.
Well-
right,
Well,
but
so
at least we have
maybe
10.
40,000 is low, because if you're putting in doors and stuff as well, maybe we need.
So I'm thinking you need to
Just so you
break
guys
it
know,
into
just
2
getting
years.
materials now.
I would
because
definitely
We
break
have
it
a
into
minor.
I would do
Here.
the outside of the ramp and then the inside,
Yeah.
Yeah.
or at least have the outside and then the ramps in the
business
distance.
hours.
Yeah, I mean, I think we should.
The design
definitely
for
break it
everything.
up.
So at some point, I'd like to sort of know firm rates, because, we only have 109,000 in our total capital, so unless you get a lot of donations in the upcoming
use
years,
grants
then
and
that's
things
sort
like
of
that.
what we have to work.
That's
with.
in
So
there.
if you're doing hardscape, landscape, 40,000, I'm just sort of
Right.
looking ahead.
Right.
Oh, sure. you're gonna have-
That's the beauty of having her. It's one of my favorite questions. One of my favorite questions.
Oh, we adjourned.
Okay.
Good job, good work.
I'm gonna go.
Do you
Good
type in
job.
the adjournment with the
Yeah.
date or the time?
I
Good
did.
job, Helen. Thank you. And thank